Hi, so my neighbour runs a shop called Biotech. He reclaims old computers, old electronics, that sort of stuff. But he and his wife are just awesome. They know of my interest in stuff, and every now and then they'll come over with something and say, "Hey Rob, do you want this?" As you remember, they were really helpful with the battery cases. They also gave me some old USPs and power supplies, and I pulled out, I don't know, about 8 current sensors from those, and those current sensors are 40 quid each. They're sitting in a drawer waiting for me to use them for something, but awesome bits of gear that these guys just bring over. And they brought this over today. It's a plasma display NEC. Now, plasma displays were really quite popular for a while, and what they did was create a gas cell between two layers of glass. They apply a high voltage to get excitation, and they would give off light, and they would do this in little pixels so you got a picture from it. So invariably, they're unbelievably heavy. This weighs something like 75 kilos, which is why it's not moving. You help me put it on the bench and we're going to pull it apart. Now, I don't know really what's in here, but I'm expecting some great things, because essentially there's going to be 2 sheets of glass, a massive aluminium frame, a high voltage power supply, some control electronics, that sort of thing. Certainly they are a couple of bar speakers, so I'll be pulling those apart and we'll see what we've got in there. But we'll start with this. Now, pulling things to pieces actually really isn't that difficult. You basically undo every screw you can see. NEC are really helpful because they put a little arrow by every screw saying undo here. They don't actually say undo here, there's just an arrow, okay? So it's really, really easy to undo this stuff. So you just undo every screw that you see and give it a tug. If it's a bit stiff, you've probably missed a screw, so have a good look around until you see that screw. Now, I've obviously been starting with this, and I've taken the back off, actually. So if we just lift that off. There we go. And there's the internals of it, and it's, as I say, here we've got a control board with power for one half of the screen. There's a replication here in the other half. It looks like a power conversion board right there. It's got some great heat sinks on it. There's some IGBTs there. As you know, we've got several power projects to do, so if they are IGBTs, they'll be immensely useful, so I will be checking those out. Of course, we made our desoldering tub so we can actually desolder this stuff, which is kind of cool. Here is where the control electronics is, and I've already undone this one, so I can show you that. And that's just the control, takes a signal and divides the thing up. Then we've got a couple of really nice fans for sure, and they're on a little framework, so there's a couple of nice fans there. And then I've taken these retaining brackets off as well. They're just support brackets that you fasten the back to, and there's a couple of handles that come with it. And we're starting to get to the bare bones of the actual device here. It's still really heavy. There's a big chunk of something here that I'm hoping is a big sheet of aluminium, incidentally. And then that's protecting the glass. We've got it welded onto here. These have been fastened down. There's a big couple of big chunky bits here. All across here is a heat sink with some electronics underneath it, being controlled by this. So this obviously is the signal board that breaks it up, and you can see the lines here going to your XY position. So what I'm going to do really is just undo all of those bits. And like I said, I don't plan on videoing me undoing all of those bits, because basically I can see a screw, I undo it, and that's all you actually have to do with this. Just have a look around, unscrew the screws, give it a lift. If it doesn't come off, you've missed a screw, search for it, unscrew it. They'll all come off. These here, cable connectors, they're usually just a press. You give them a press and then they'll come straight out. There we go. So they're really easy to come out. So I'm going to take this to bits and then lay out the bits that are of interest. Okay, as we're part way through this, I thought I'd just give you a better view of what the actual boards look like. So there's the power. Here we've got the supply and part of the control for the display. There's the display lines. There's another set of the lines there. And the input signal stuff, the signal decoder is over there. I'm not really interested in that so much because they tend to be specific integrated circuits made for this application, so not a lot I can do with them. It's still pretty heavy, so I'm not going to lift it up for you to have a look at, but you can pretty much see what there is there. Anyway, let's carry on. So this is a display screen. It's 2 layers of glass that have been printed with lines at 90 degrees and then epoxy sealed around the edges and basically glued onto this backing sheet of aluminium. And those 2 layers form a cell, and you pass a high voltage down there, and that cell will glow. So that's the basis of the plasma device. Pretty cool piece of kit, really. It suddenly struck me because I was removing the aluminium. I mean, there's no chance I'm going to be able to recover or do anything with that screen. And the glass is actually pretty brittle. There was another layer of glass that had a protective screen on it, plastic laminate. This one's really quite brittle. But when you take it off, you can see it's got this white coating on the back of it. That's obviously a reflective coating, and you can see the grid pattern of raised little cells. But all I'm going to do is remove that glass and try to get the aluminium, because it's the aluminium sheet, will actually be really useful to me. And it just peels off, apart from this section here. Give it a tap, it just falls off. So there we go. I personally found that fascinating, and the reclamation is really awesome as well. We've got this really nice piece of thick aluminium sheet here. Still got to clean a bit of the rubber tape off. I thought that glass would be sealed across the surface. Turns out it's 3 bits of rubber tape. Who'd have known? Anyway, we've got a nice piece of aluminium. Then there's some really cool electronics here, particularly these power transistors or IGBTs. Don't know which. Going to check them out, remove them from the board using our solder pot. Aluminium here. This one's a weird one. I thought it was aluminium at first, but not a ring. That might actually be cast zinc. Kind of interesting, so we'll have to see what that is. Got a bunch of magnets here. Actually, they're obviously the speakers, but there's a whole load of magnets in there. Each one of these larger speakers has got 1 magnet. These little ones here have got 2. So we've got 4 speakers, some nice inductors actually. That's a 3 ohm 10 millihenry inductor. It's lovely actually. You can see it's got a laminated core. So kind of cool bunch of stuff that would otherwise just have gone to the bin, and obviously there's an awful lot of projects that can be done with that. Anyway, I thought I'd share it with you because I was going to do it anyway and I thought it would be of interest. Thank you very much for watching.